Let's get started with our first news. Merab says he was robbed of a finish against Sandhagen. What a massive event that was. Poatan absolutely destroyed Khabib to reclaim his belt, and the Georgian machine Merab defended his bantamweight title for the third time, tying the division record and further cementing his legacy as one of the greatest bantamweights ever. And get this, Merab is already talking about coming back in December. In his post-fight interview with MMA Junkie, the champ said he wants to fight again in just 2 months, targeting none other than Pereira for his next defense. Their first fight was complete dominance from start to finish, and it's hard to imagine a different outcome in the rematch. Still, Merab seems more motivated than ever to prove once again why he's the cardio king of the division. He also spoke about that wild moment in the fight where he nearly finished Sandhagen, saying the referee should have stepped in to stop it. According to Merab, that could have easily been a finish. But even without the stoppage, it was yet another display of pure heart, relentless pressure, and world-class endurance from the champion, who continues to make elite contenders look ordinary. At this point, Merab is close to lapping the entire division. He's beaten nearly every top contender already, and a rematch with Pereira feels like the perfect next chapter. When asked about what's next, Merab said he doesn't want to wait too long or sit out for new contenders to rise. He believes Pereira, now on a 3-fight win streak and a former champion, deserves another shot at the title, and Merab is ready to make it happen. He added that he was impressed with how Sandhagen defended the takedowns and managed to get up quickly. Sandhagen did a great job making Merab's wrestling exchanges much tougher than expected. But in striking, Merab felt far more comfortable, saying he had much more success standing up. Now, with no confirmed main event for December, maybe this rematch will headline the card, and once again the machine will roll back into action. Move on to another news. Usman Nurmagomedov calls out Ilia Topuria after his big win. Usman just picked up an impressive victory over Paul Hughes in their rematch, and as expected, it was a high-level and competitive fight that kept fans on the edge of their seats from start to finish. Once again, Usman showcased his elite striking, grappling, and fight IQ, proving why many see him as one of the best lightweights in the world today. After the fight, Usman made headlines with his bold post-fight comments. In a Russian interview with Ushetka, he doubled down on his belief that he's the #1 lightweight in the world, with the exception of Islam, who's now competing at 7. Usman went straight after Ilia's claim to being the best, saying, quote, "Ilia Topuria can't be considered the #1 lightweight in the world. I've fought 19 times in this division, defeated former and current champions, and my record speaks for itself. He only has 14 fights, while I've finished 14 opponents in my career. With this win over Hughes and my long streak of victories, it's clear I'm the top lightweight right now." End quote. Khabib also shared his thoughts on the situation, saying that if Ilia truly wants to call himself the best, then he needs to face Usman first. And stylistically, this would be a phenomenal matchup. Both men are incredibly skilled, undefeated, and carry championship-level composure inside the cage. Usman is as well-rounded as they come, combining world-class wrestling with crisp, calculated striking. Still, most fans continue to give Ilia the benefit of the doubt, simply because he holds the UFC belt, and in MMA, being the UFC champion still carries unmatched prestige and global recognition. Even though Usman's dominance outside the UFC is undeniable, fans naturally lean toward the champion representing the biggest stage in the sport. At this point, there isn't much buzz for a Usman vs Ilia showdown. The fight most fans are truly waiting for is Ilia vs Islam, the potential super fight that could finally determine who the real #1 lightweight in the world is. But for now, Usman Nurmagomedov continues to make his statement loud and clear. He's here, he's dominant, and he wants the world to recognize it. Move on to another news. Ilia Topuria reacts to the UFC 320 madness, and his message for Merab shows nothing but respect and brotherhood. Ilia couldn't hide his admiration after witnessing one of the most insane cards of the year. UFC 320 delivered pure chaos, and one of the standout moments came from his friend and fellow countryman Merab, who absolutely dismantled Corey Sandhagen with his relentless pace, unmatched cardio, and championship-level composure. On his Instagram story, Ilya shared a heartfelt message in Spanish, later translated into English. He wrote, "Brother, we have already reached the point where your victories seem almost normal, but we all know how hard it is to get there. I say this with pride, you are a living legend, an example of hard work, sacrifice, and heart. Beyond being a fighter, you are an incredible person, with a soul too big for your chest. We love you, we support you, and we are with you every step of the way." That emotional post quickly went viral, showing just how strong the bond is between these two warriors representing their nation at the highest level. Ilya's words carried weight because few people understand what it takes to reach that kind of greatness better than him. Looking ahead, Ilya's next fight is expected to take place in early 2026. While there's still some speculation about who will challenge him next, a few pundits believe Justin Gaethje could sneak his way into the title picture. However, all signs currently point toward Paddy Pimblett being Ilya's first title defense at 55. The matchup is rumored to headline Paramount's very first UFC event of the new year, a historic moment that fans have been eagerly waiting for. If this fight happens, it will be one of the most talked about clashes in recent memory. The confident and flamboyant Paddy against the calm, lethal precision of El Matador. That's a recipe for fireworks. Recently, Paddy opened up about how he's preparing for the potential matchup, showing that he's taking things very seriously this time around. He said, "Obviously, I've got to get that timing better if I'm fighting someone like him. That's what I want to work on. But my grappling always feels phenomenal. When I get people on the floor, they don't get up. I smother people like Duplessis did over the weekend. Once I get you down, I'm on top of you, making you feel my weight and landing shots. When I'm on top of someone, they're not getting up." Paddy added that it's nice to finally be back home and settled after weeks of traveling around the world. He spent time training in Dubai, Cyprus, and the US, and now he's focused on sharpening every aspect of his game. With both fighters in full training mode, 2026 could start with one of the biggest title fights in UFC history. Move on to another news. Alex Pereira gets heated with Team Khabib after UFC 320, and things got intense online following his dominant victory. Alex absolutely destroyed Magomed Ankalaev in their rematch to reclaim his title, but what happened after the fight stirred even more drama. The tension didn't come from Magomed himself, it came from his manager Ali Abdelaziz, one of the most influential figures in Team Khabib. Ali isn't just any manager, he's been a major part of Khabib's camp for years, working closely with Islam and many other Dagestani fighters, handling everything from business negotiations to fight deals. But following Pereira's destruction of Ankalaev, Ali made some controversial comments that didn't sit well with the new champ. Ali said, quote, "There were a lot of things that happened in Ankalaev's camp, but it's for him to talk about, not me. If it was up to me, he should never have fought this time." End quote. Those words immediately triggered a response from Pereira, who didn't hold back. Alex fired back on social media, posting, "When a manager has never been an athlete and tries to promote himself for fame and money while you're the one risking your life inside the cage, and he's outside laughing." That post went viral instantly. Fans flooded the comments, siding with Pereira and blasting Ali for constantly inserting himself into fighters' business. Not long after, Ali responded again, trying to calm the situation down. He wrote, quote, "In reality, this isn't about me and Alex. This is about Magomed and Alex. I don't have any beef with him. I respect what he's accomplished, but I truly believed Magomed would beat him." End quote. Despite Ali's attempt to de-escalate, the exchange has fueled more tension between Pereira and Team Khabib. Fans are now speculating if this rivalry could eventually lead to a crossover or some heated interactions in future events, especially given how emotional this back and forth has become. Meanwhile, analyst Josh Thompson weighed in on what's next for the Brazilian powerhouse. He said the fight to make right now is Berg versus Alex. We've already seen the Yuri fight, the Ankalaev fight, and others. If Alex is staying at 205, that's the matchup, but if Jon comes back down to 205, then Alex versus Jon would be huge. Josh added that Pereira has been very vocal about wanting to stay busy and keep fighting as often as possible. If he beats Berg, then honestly, he can do whatever he wants, move up to heavyweight, super heavyweight, it doesn't matter. He's making money delivering fights and keeping fans entertained. Once again, Alex Pereira proves that inside or outside the cage, he's never afraid to speak his mind and keep the spotlight right where it belongs on him. Move on to another news. Sean O'Malley has shared what he believes is the only way Merab loses his UFC bantamweight title. After UFC 320, Merab extended his incredible win streak to 14 straight victories, tying the division record for most title defenses with his third successful defense this year against Corey Sandhagen. It was another dominant performance from the Georgian machine, who nearly finished Sandhagen and became the first fighter in UFC history to reach 100 takedowns in a single fight. At this point, Merab has beaten every top contender in the division, leaving fans wondering what it would actually take to dethrone him. According to Sean O'Malley, there's only one possible way, and he believes he's the man who can do it. O'Malley, who faced Merab at UFC 306 last year, reflected on their first encounter where he found some success late in the fight. He managed to hurt Merab with vicious body kicks in the 5th round, but the relentless cardio and toughness of the champ helped him survive and secure the decision win. Over the years, Merab has found himself in a few dangerous moments, like when Marlon Moraes nearly finished him in 2021, or when Henry Cejudo rocked him in 2024. Even Umar Nurmagomedov managed to win the first 2 rounds before Merab stormed back to dominate the rest of the fight. Despite those moments, no one has been able to stop him. And that's where O'Malley believes he's different. On his YouTube channel, O'Malley said he's very confident in his striking right now, and he should be, because when his opponents back up, nothing really happens. When they stand and trade, he cracks them, falls into a takedown, or lands a right hand that changes the fight. O'Malley continued, "To beat Merab, you have to land that shot. You have to sniper him. The more confident he gets in striking, the more reckless he becomes, and that's where the openings appear. I honestly hate to say it, but I'm the only one who can do it." He added, "He needs to be clipped, needs to be knocked out cold to be beaten. I don't see anyone else doing it, not right now. I just gotta get back in there, stack some wins, and give me that shot at the White House." Move on to another news. Merab's coach has officially called out a potential super fight against Volkanovski after the Georgian's dominant performance at UFC 3. With Merab now having completely cleared out the bantamweight division, defeating every top contender in sight, fans are starting to wonder what's next for the machine. And one of the most talked about possibilities is a fight against Volkanovski for the featherweight belt. Merab's head coach, John Wood, joined Submission Radio to discuss the idea, calling it an interesting matchup and something fans would absolutely tune in for. According to Wood, Volkanovski might have the cleaner, more polished stand-up game, but Merab's relentless pace and pressure make him a nightmare for anyone, even in a higher weight class. Wood said, "I love that fight. It's a pick'em kind of matchup. Volk might have a little more clean striking, but we're getting there, man. The thing is, I'm not trying to reinvent Merab into some perfect striker or perfect wrestler. Merab is Merab, and our job is to keep him that way. That's what makes him so special." He added, "It would be such an interesting fight. The pace of Merab, even in a bigger weight class, is just so hard to deal with. He doesn't slow down, and that's a nightmare for anyone standing across from him." John Wood also pointed out that Merab has already dealt with fighters who possess size and range advantages, like Corey Sandhagen. "Corey's a big dude," Wood explained. "He's about the same size as most of those 45ers. You could see last night range and length weren't a problem. It doesn't matter how tall you are or how long you are, Merab's going to get there." While the super fight talk is heating up, Merab himself has been very honest about not wanting to fight Volkanovski, at least not yet. He's openly admitted that Volka's just too good and would be an enormous challenge. Despite the growing fan excitement around the idea, Merab appears fully focused on continuing his dominance in the bantamweight division. Right now, the UFC is reportedly working on booking a rematch between Merab and Pereira-Abdelaziz for December. With no pay-per-view currently scheduled for that month, the timing actually lines up perfectly. It would allow Merab to defend his title one more time this year and continue his reign of dominance before even thinking about moving up in weight. John Wood believes Merab is entering his prime, with every fight showing a more composed, confident, and dangerous version of the champ. "He's not slowing down," Wood said. "His confidence is growing, his striking's improving, and his pressure is becoming even more suffocating. Volk's incredible, don't get me wrong, he's one of the best to ever do it. But Merab's a machine. His pace, his toughness, and his willingness to go through fire to win, that's what makes him special." For now, the bantamweight king remains focused on defending his belt, but if the stars align, a Merab vs Volkanovski super fight could easily become one of the biggest events in UFC history. Move on to another news. Arman has fired shots at Ilya after the new lightweight champion's big win at UFC 317, accusing him of running from the real contender. Ilya just captured the lightweight title in spectacular fashion, knocking out Charles Oliveira in the main event at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The arena was packed, and among those watching from cageside were Arman, Justin Gaethje, and Paddy Pimblett. But when the time came for a post-fight face-off, it was Pimblett who was invited into the octagon, not Arman. That move didn't sit well with the Armenian contender, who believes Ilya is avoiding him deliberately. Before the fight, Ilya made it clear that even though Arman weighed in as the official backup, he would still need one more win before earning a title shot, and after securing the belt, Ilya didn't hesitate to take a jab at Arman during his interview with ESPN Deportes. Ilya said he looked scared. He had that look of shock on his face when he saw the knockout. He was probably thinking, thank God nothing happened to Charles, because this could have been me. He always makes weight when he knows he's not going to fight, but when there's a real fight ahead, suddenly his back starts hurting. Arman wasn't about to let that slide. Wasting no time, he fired back on social media with a sharp response saying, "Running from the real contender only proves one thing: you're scared. Deep down, you know exactly what happens if you ever step in there with me." His post quickly caught fire online, with fans rallying behind the idea of a future clash between the two. But Arman didn't stop there. He also took a quick shot at Dan Hooker, who had recently called him out. In his typical no-nonsense style, Arman wrote, "On a side note, Dan Hooker is still a BTH. Just thought that needed to be said." The rivalry between Arman and Ilya has been brewing for months, and this exchange just poured gasoline on the fire. Fans have long seen Arman as one of the toughest contenders in the division, a relentless grappler with elite pressure and cardio, who believes he's the only one capable of truly testing Ilya's championship medal. Meanwhile, Ilya remains undefeated and at the peak of his confidence, dismissing challengers one by one. But with Arman breathing down his neck and the fans demanding the matchup, it's only a matter of time before the UFC is forced to make this showdown happen. Both men are young, hungry, and in their prime, and when they finally collide, it could be one of the most explosive lightweight fights in recent memory.